The winning blueprint presents.
Draft Zone.
Welcome to the Draft Zone. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up. And what we aim to do in this segment is to break down the 2013 NFL Draft of every single team in the National Football League. One by one, we'll break down and analyze the draft of each team, looking at every single pick made by those teams in the draft. And when we break these drafts down and each selection made by X said team, in this case we'll be talking about the New Orleans Saints, we don't just take the player that was selected into consideration. We also look at the pick itself, how it was made, where it was made, and how the draft pick will impact the team in 2013 and moving forward. Now, how we will accumulate these scores is simple. We'll use our baseball grading scale as we always do in the lab room and in the draft zone. Single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts in the draft wrap-up as we don't know how these players project to the next level. And each team has a varying draft board and degrees of grades on these players. So one player might be, for the Saints, a first-round grade. For that same player, the Atlanta Falcons have a third-round grade on. So you just don't know where these players fall in line on each team's draft board. And so you can't say that a team reached for a player or not. So there will be no strikeouts here in the draft wrap-up. So we'll break each draft pick down, each selection, give them a grade, get an aggregate score from the grades given to each and every single pick, give the Saints a grade overall for their draft as a whole, and then move forward. So without any further ado, I got my draft board behind me, got my handy dandy pointer present. Let's get to the board and do some damage with the New Orleans Saints and their draft board. So first thing I always like to look at when I start breaking down these drafts are the needs list. And for the Saints, this is a team that underachieved. And we know all the turmoil that surrounded this team coming into the 2012 season. And so expectations and the bar needed to be lowered for the Saints. Drew Brees and this group came out of the gates last year losing their first 4 games of the season. And so they've got some issues. They get their commander-in-chief back in Sean Payton, but they also have some needs to address. Linebacker, offensive line, you lose Jonathan Casillas. Jonathan Vilma isn't the same guy anymore. You look at the offensive line, you lose your left tackle. Jermon Bushrod is now in Chicago, so definitely a need there. Defensive line, look, Cedric Ellis isn't what you thought he was going to be. So you've got some things to do, and you're making a switch from the 4-3 defense to a 3-4 base defense with Rob Ryan coming in and being your new defensive coordinator. So defensive line is definitely a need. When you switch to a 3-4, you got to have beef up front. You got to have that big girth and big, huge, space-eating nose tackle to make that defense go. And so definitely defensive line a need. You look at wide receiver as well. Drew Brees can always use more targets. And finally, safety. The Saints were one of the worst pass defenses in the league. At one point in the season, they were the worst passing defense I've ever seen in my life. And so the Saints definitely could use some help out there at safety. I actually love Michael Jenkins. I think that they need another guy across from him to really make that secondary go. And so let's look at this draft board. We have round, pick, players, position, school. So let's get into the Saints draft. We start in the first round, pick 15, safety out of Texas, Kenny Vaccaro. Kind of a surprise pick for me. Thought the Saints were going to try and address maybe the offensive side of the football, maybe get a defensive tackle. A guy like Sharif Floyd was sitting there, but for the value at 15, I think they took the best player available that met a need. You can look at defensive line and say, hey, there were a plethora of defensive linemen available at 15, but you got to ask yourself, does any of those defensive linemen meet what we're trying to do in our 3-4 defense? A guy like Sylvester Williams maybe is what you're looking for at the 3-4 nose tackle position, but not at 15. And so this was the best pick available for a team that was drafting a need and looking to get the best value at 15. They did both in drafting the safety out of Texas, Kenny Vaccaro. This guy is an athlete. And I love Kenny Vaccaro because he's one of those rare breed of safeties in the National Football League that can both cover. We're talking about a guy that dropped down into the slot at Texas and was able to cover guys like Tavon Austin, the first receiver taken in this draft, in the slot. And we know what a jitterbug Tavon Austin is. Kenny Vaccaro was able to cover that guy. So he was able to run with him, cover him up, tackle him when he caught the football. I thought he did an excellent job on Tavon Austin. As well as you can do for a guy that is explosive as Tavon Austin is, Kenny Vaccaro was right there with him step for step. So ignore the 4.66 speed that this guy posted at the combine. He plays a lot faster than that. And so he's a guy that can cover in the slot, which means he's got ball skills and he's got the ability to cover out in space. But he also is a fearless tackler. He'll come up and stick his face mask right in your chest. He loves coming down and run support. You get the best of both worlds with Kenny Vaccaro. I love the selection here. I think Kenny Vaccaro has the ability to be one of the better safeties in this league in about 3 or 4 seasons. I think the potential for him is immense in this defense. And if the Saints can get their defense to generate some pressure, give the secondary a chance. If they can start doing some things up front, causing quarterbacks to be uneasy in the pocket, guys like Kenny Vaccaro and Malcolm Jenkins will have opportunities to make plays on the football. I really like Kenny Vaccaro, and I like the Saints having a safety tandem now that I think can actually be one of the better ones in the National Football League, because I really like what the Saints did moving Malcolm Jenkins to safety after drafting him and realizing, yeah, this guy is in the corner, let's put him at safety. But Roman Harper has been solid, bless his heart, but he is no longer a guy that you can count on at the safety position. Maybe in a rotational depth capacity, sure. But as a starter in this league, you need a guy that can change the game. Kenny Vaccaro can do that. And I think here the Saints got themselves a home run. You can put it on the board, Saints! With the 15th overall selection in the first round, safety out of Texas, Kenny Vaccaro is a home run for the New Orleans Saints. We go to the third round. 75th overall selection. You do not own a second-round pick that was taken from you after that bounty situation. So, and this is the last year for that. So if you're the Saints, you feel really good about finally getting over that stumbling block. Offensive tackle out of Arkansas Pine Bluff, Teron Armstead. And this is a direct pick because of the loss of Jermon Bushrod. Now, let me warn you right now. Is Teron Armstead ready to start right now? I'm not sure about that. If I were you, I wouldn't jump the gun here. I would not stick a guy like Teron Armstead in the game right away. Now, he may go out at camp and wow you, knock your socks off, and you might say, man, this guy's ready to go right now. If you feel that way, knock yourself out. Good luck. May the forces be with you, but I don't think this guy's ready to go right away. He's extremely raw. We're talking about a late bloomer, a guy that didn't play football until relatively late in the process. Normally, these guys have been playing football since Pop Warner, since they were 5 or 6 years old. This is one of those guys that started playing football when he was about 15 or 16 years old. So he's raw. That's number one. Number two, he's a track guy playing football. And so he's got a lot to learn. And it's funny to even say that, to fix my lips to say that a 310-pound tackle is a track guy. But that's what Teron Armstead is. He's a track guy playing football. And so he picked Arkansas Pine Bluff because that was the only school that would allow him to play football but still play track as well. And so he's a track guy that wants to play football, and now he's really good at football. However, he's got a lot of learning to do. And so this is a guy that wowed everyone at the combine. If not for Lane Johnson, we'd be talking about Teron Armstead as probably one of the greatest athletic marvels at the combine ever. I mean, this guy is 6'5", 6'6", 310 pounds, running a 4.7 40. So we're talking about that same type of athleticism that we saw out of Lane Johnson. We saw the same thing out of Teron Armstead. And this guy has great footwork, great quickness. He can move. And so the only thing you have to question with him is the experience, of course. He did not face great competition at Arkansas Pine Bluff. And so will it be a culture shock once he gets to the next level? Will he be able to adjust to the athleticism, speed, strength of all the guys he'll see in the National Football League? And also, technique. Using his hands, making sure that he doesn't let these defensive linemen get into his pads, get their hands on him. He has to learn how to anchor better. He has to learn how to slide and adjust better. But he's a really good player. You've got a lot to work with here. I love this selection. I think this guy has the skill set to be a true gem at the left or right tackle position in this league. Honestly, he has the size, the athleticism, and the talent to be a left tackle in this league. He just needs a little bit of grooming. And so if the Saints are going to work with this guy, if you want to start him this year, how about this? If you want to start this guy this year, you put him on the right side. You let him get his feet wet. You allow him to learn the nuances of the National Football League and what the tackle position entails in this league. And then next year, if he really does well at the right side, you make the transition over to left tackle. I'm not a big fan of doing that because people think that it's just easy to just switch sides. Okay, you play right side, now go play the left. It's not the same. It's different. The footwork is different. The communication is different. Everything changes when you flop sides. And also, normally the better pass rushers are on the left side as well. So I'm not a big fan of doing the right side and then over the left side thing. But if that's what you want to do, if you want to get your third-round pick on the field right now, fine. I think that's the way to do it. Do not stick him in at left tackle, though, right away. Unless you want to get Drew Brees absolutely annihilated. I say you put him on the right side. You let him learn. He's going to make some mistakes, but this guy is so talented that I think he'll pay off big dividends for you down the road. I love the pick. It's a triple for me in the third round. 75th overall selection, offensive tackle out of Arkansas Pine Bluff, Teron Armstead. So let's go to the needs board and do a little bit of work here. First overall selection for the Saints in this draft, 15th overall selection, is a safety. Kenny Vaccaro out of Texas, so we take that off the needs board. You also look at their second pick in this draft, came in the third round, 75th overall selection, Teron Armstead, tackle out of Arkansas Pine Bluff. That gives us an offensive lineman, so we take that off the needs board as well. So the Saints knocking down needs right away in this draft. You go to the third round again. No second round pick, but 2/3 in the third round at the 82nd selection. Defensive tackle out of Georgia. This pick comes from the Chicago Bears. They take John Jenkins, a big mammoth of a man. And when you're playing a 3-4 defense, you need one of these guys. Right away, I'll tell you right off the bat, not a 3-down player. So if you're looking for a guy to get after the quarterback from the defensive tackle position, which if you're playing a 3-4 defense, if this guy can just stop the run, plug up the middle, knife in the backfield, and get pressure on the running backs and the ball carriers, you'll take that all day. Anything after that is added value. Any kind of pressure on the quarterback, added value. You don't care about that in a 3-4 defense from your nose tackle. You just want this guy to be a space eater, eat up blocks, cause havoc, be an immovable force in the middle. John Jenkins can do all of those things for you. And so I love this pick. I think it's great value. This was the guy that was slated to go in the second round. It was a first-round pick, maybe at the beginning of this process, then was thought of as a second-round selection. Things happen. Next thing you know, he's in the third round. So this is great value here. in the third round for defensive tackle out of Georgia, John Jenkins. I think that this guy is the prototypical nose in this league. This guy can take on two blockers, has no problems shedding guys and getting to ball carriers. I think that he's more athletic than people think. I mean, we're talking about a 340-pound athlete here. This guy ran a 4.9 40 at his pro day. That doesn't matter. He's not running 40 yards down the field. So this guy has lateral quickness. So that's what matters. He can get down the line of scrimmage. He can get to the ball carrier. He can knife in the backfield, make things happen. He can eat up blockers. He can eat up space. He can stand his ground at the point of attack, which is what you're looking for from your nose tackle in a 3-4 defense. And so I think this is a wonderful pick for the Saints. And it's a triple for me. In the third round, 82nd selection, defensive tackle out of Georgia, John Jenkins. I think it's a great pick by the New Orleans Saints. So we move on to the fifth round. Pick 144, wide receiver out of Oklahoma, Kenny Stills. I think this is an absolutely perfect fit for Kenny Stills. You know what this reminds me of? Lance Moore. He's a little bit bigger than Lance Moore. Probably a lot faster than Lance Moore, but he doesn't play as fast. He ran a 4.38 40 at the combine. I don't think Kenny Stills plays that fast. But he gets open. He catches the football. He's really good in soft hands. Now, it has lapses in concentration. Lance Moore does not have lapses in concentration. Generally, you throw it in Lance Moore's direction, he catches the football. Sometimes Kenny Stills is looking to make plays before he gets the football in his hands, causing him to drop the football. But for the most part, this guy's got really good hands. And so he's more athletic than people give him credit for. Is he the greatest athlete? No. But he can run by you. If you blink, Kenny Stills is by you. He's going to catch the football. Drew Brees is going to get him the football. He's going to get open. He struggles because he's got a slender frame. He struggles getting off of press coverage sometimes. If you're a little rough with Kenny Stills, but to me, that goes for every New Orleans Saints receiver with the exception of Marquise Colston. If you get physical with them, they struggle getting off the line of scrimmage. It's just how it is in New Orleans. They got a lot of smallish receivers, a lot of guys that use their speed and quickness to get in and out of breaks to create separation. So I think he'll fit right in. I think this is a great pick because this is a guy that sometimes can be immature, talks a lot on the football field, can be duped into a couple of penalties, can be a hothead at times. He's had off-the-field issues with a DUI at college. So he's a guy that has to focus. He's a young man that has to focus in on football and football alone. Don't allow the off-the-field distractions and don't allow guys to get in his head on the field. If he can do that, just focus in on football. Let Drew Brees and this offense mentor him. Take him under their wing. Kenny Stills will be a very productive receiver because we know what this Saints offense does for receivers. They take the ordinary, average Joe Schmo receiver and turn him into a problem on the football field. So I think Kenny Stills is going to fit in. This is a great selection. I think Kenny Stills is a New Orleans Saint. I look at him and I say, man, that's a great fit for him. When this selection was made, I looked at the pick and I said, wow, that is the best possible scenario for Kenny Stills. I mean, he couldn't have landed in a better spot. I love this selection for all parties involved. I honestly think that this is a triple. But I'm going to give them a double for this. Just because I got to see what Kenny Stills is going to bring to the table. I thought he should have been more productive at Oklahoma. I think the off-the-field issues coupled with some of the immaturity things on the field and a few of the drops have me questioning whether Kenny Stills will come in and be the professional that I think he can be. But when I have questions and I don't have all the answers, I take a cautionary approach. I'm doing that here. This is a double for me. In the fifth round, pick 144 wide receiver out of Oklahoma, Kenny Stills. Let's go to the needs board one more time. In the third round, the Saints get John Jenkins, defensive tackle out of Georgia. That meets a need. In the fifth round, Saints get a wide receiver, Kenny Stills, out of Oklahoma. And so Saints are really faring well in this draft thus far. We go to the sixth round, and this is their fifth and final selection. You look at pick 183, defensive end out of Tarleton State, Rufus Johnson. Where? Who? Yeah, it's one of those picks. Not many people know a lot about Rufus Johnson, and rightfully so. This guy played at a Division II school. And look, you know how I feel about small school guys. I say this all the time. I'm like a broken record. I like what I like. And if you're a small school guy, I only ask one thing of you. Dominate the competition in front of you. If you want to stand out, if you want to be noticed, if you want to be drafted in the National Football League, if you want to play at the next level, you're supposed to be better than 90% of the competition that's around you. So dominate. Don't want to hear any excuses. If you're a NFL product or you think that you are a prospect worthy of being drafted into the National Football League, dominate the competition. You can't help what they put in front of you. All you can do is do what you can do, which is dominate. That's what Rufus Johnson did. We're talking about a guy that 50 tackles, 40 tackles in his senior year, 17 and a half of them for losses, and 10 sacks. Dominate. That's all I asked. And he was a guy that had at least a half a sack in 7 of his team's 9 games. And so, look, we're talking about production here. He was a defensive end at Tarleton State. He projects to an outside linebacker at the next level. They're playing a 3-4 defense. They want guys that can get to the quarterback. They think Rufus Johnson can do that. They draft him. Again, small school guy. I've got questions. He's 265 pounds at 6'4". That's a big guy. We're in that Lamar Woodley territory now where you're just a big, solid guy. Can you get around the corner? Can you bend at the hips? Can you beat tackles in this league consistently? Are you fast enough? Do you use your hands well? These are all questions I have about Rufus Johnson. We will see. 10 sacks at a Divisional II school, nothing to scoff at. So he gets some sort of respect just on that strength alone. But again, a lot of questions. Are you explosive enough? 4'7" athlete is Rufus Johnson. So we'll see. I've got questions. Does he have the answers? Don't know, but it's a double for me. I'll give him a double because I think that Rufus Johnson has the ability to get it done. And again, he did his part. He dominated at a smaller school, so can't really be mad at that. The production is there. He believes that he can get it done at the next level. He's a very confident individual. And so we'll see if this is a match made in heaven or not. But it's a double for the Saints in the 6th round. Defensive end out of Tarleton State, Rufus Johnson. So I look at this draft and I'm like, where's the rest of the draft? Am I missing something here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 selections. What's the rest of the draft? Is it me or did I miss something? No? So just 5 picks? That's it? That's how we do drafts now? Just 5 picks and then we just go home, huh? Huh. So, wow. That was a pretty quick draft. All right, so looking at the draft, I guess what's left of it, you average it up, and for what they had and what they needed, I thought the Saints did a great job. Problem is, it's just not a lot here. So, home run in the 1st round with Kenny Vaccaro, safety out of Texas. Triple for Teron Armstead, tackle out of Arkansas Pine Bluff in the 3rd round. Another 3rd round selection, this time from the Chicago Bears. Defensive tackle out of Georgia, John Jenkins, is another triple for me. Kenny Stills in the 5th round, receiver out of Oklahoma, is a double. And Rufus Johnson, defensive end out of Tarleton State, I think is a very interesting prospect. He's a double as well. And so you average it up and it comes extremely close to a triple. And normally I give you the benefit of the doubt when you come that close. and just say, hey, they got a triple, but 5 picks isn't enough for me to give them the benefit of the doubt. In fact, I'm docking them a point just for only having 5 draft picks. And so, is it entirely their fault? No, of course we know about Bountygate, but I don't care. I don't care. It's 5 picks is 5 picks. And so it's a double for the New Orleans Saints. But the picks that they did make, I actually like this whole entire draft, to be honest with you. It's just not enough here. You build your teams through the draft. And to only add 5 players through the draft, not acceptable. Not acceptable. So, while this is a really solid draft, it's just not enough here. Not enough here for me to sink my teeth into. If I'm a New Orleans Saints fan, not enough. Not enough here. So, while I love the players we got, just simply not enough. But that's going to do it for the New Orleans Saints. It's a double for them in the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up. I thought they did a solid job, but just not a lot here. So that's going to do it for the New Orleans Saints in the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up.
Draft Zone.